All right. So, as I was saying, many of you know me, but for those of you who do not, welcome. It's really nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us. My name is Amy Pearson, and I host a monthly series called the Dream Discovery Series. And this is a way for me to get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is dreams and spirituality and how those two kind of connect. And I am also a life coach and an instructor for something called Wayfinder Life Coach Training. I've been doing that now for, I think, almost either well, around 13 years. And you can find me over at Being Amy the blog. I'm also a writer, a blogger, a mother of three teenagers. And today, on our series, I invited a couple of powerhouse spiritual teachers and dream analysts to come on and join me to talk about the topic of karma and dharma, which is something that I'm fascinated with. And these two have been seeing a lot of these themes coming up in dream work that they do, and also just in the spiritual work that they do, and have been able to articulate the path to the dharmic path in a way that I find really helpful and really, I guess, concrete and really like accessible. And in fact, they've been able to create an entire and articulate a process. So I invited those two here, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves in a minute. But what we'll do is I'm going to have these two kind of Janise and Melissa talk about this path and talk about what even is karma and what even is dharma. Why do we care? How does it show up in our dreams? And why does it matter whether we're on the karmic or the dharmic path? And so they're going to talk about that. And then we're going to share as much as we can about this. And then I'm also invited them to come and talk about this program that they put together to support individuals on this journey. And so they will share some information about that, as well as some other interesting offers. And if you do have if you can mute yourself, please do so. But yeah, so they're going to also share some other things. And I'm lucky enough to be able to get to participate and potentially be a part of these programs as well. So yeah, so thanks for being here. And what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to pin Janise and Melissa. So let me see. How do I do that? Let me see if I can. There's you. Okay, there she is. And there's Melissa. So here we are. All right. So why don't we start off, you two, by just kind of maybe introducing yourself and talking a little bit about what you do, give people who don't know you a little background on how you came to this work. Whoever wants to start first.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, I saw you unmuted yourself, so I thought you were going. So how I got into this work, I started probably about 8 years ago. I followed what was in my dreams. I had been working as an accountant and knew I wasn't meant to do that. So I quit my job and, like I said, basically just followed my dreams. And I know one of the main things I'm here to do is to help people release what they no longer need. So lower vibrational energy, programming, in order to prepare them for the ascension. And then I also am here to move people onto the dharmic path. So I could just pick someone and put them on the dharmic path. Like I could do that, but what we've learned is that they need to participate to stay on that path. So that is the program that Janise and I came up with to facilitate that that dharmic path and staying on it. What else can I tell you? You mentioned a few things, Amy.
I was going to ask you, Melissa, when you say that you were an accountant and you followed your dreams, I'm assuming you mean not just like the I followed my dreams, like my big dreams, but more like your actual
My
dreams.
actual dreams, right? Yeah, our
Yeah.
dreams that say all what our gifts are and what we're meant to be doing. And it was very clear that I was meant to do these spiritual abilities in a for the public, like it's what I came here to do.
I love
So
that our dreams can offer. I mean, it's just amazing to me that our dreams can give us that information. The other thing I did want to just have you maybe touch on quickly is when you say the ascension. I'm not sure that everyone kind of is on the same page about what that means. So maybe say a little bit about that.
yeah, so in my mind, or how I understand it, is the earth itself is ascending, like she's releasing what she no longer needs, she's raising in vibration, and then those of us who came here and just or before we came here decided to also be part of the ascension, our vibration is also raising. So that's happening, I believe, like automatically, and then my team, when I say my team, I mean the angels I work with, I also assist people in doing that.
Okay, I could say more about that and ask more about that. I love that topic actually, though. But I think we'll maybe leave it there and see what Janice has to say.
Okay, hi. Yeah, I'm Janise. I've been scientist, physicist my entire life, and I too just recently followed my dreams, but my actual dreams that I have at night, and I was waiting for them because I was doing this great spiritual healing work as a side gig and doing just thousands and thousands of dream interpretations, and I wanted to do it full time. And I was just waiting for my dreams. And the dream finally came. And I said, this is it. And it was perfect timing because Melissa had just discovered one of her, that major gift of being able to put people on the dharmic path. And we started experimenting with it. And it was very clear that it was time for me to leave my day job and do this kind of work full time. So what my real passion is I just absolutely love dreams, and I use them for everything. I take people through just massive clearings and healings, and I learned how to do this by paying attention to my dreams. My dreams basically would tell me how I needed to structure a meditation, or how I needed to structure a program in order to get maximum trauma release. And so those programs have been really successful and really helpful for people. And that just brings me so much joy. Um, uh, One kind of fun thing that I do that's still spiritual is this series called Galactic Partner Integrations. And it's just totally different from my dream work and my trauma healing release work and Dharma work. It's really just getting us in contact with the piece of us that is from our galactic lineage. And this integration allows us to bring that back in to just remember another part of who we are.
Yeah, I love it. Well, so I will say though, for folks who know me, so Janice and Melissa have actually been supporting me on my path. I've been working with Janice, having her do my dreams. She's one of my favorite dream analysts, and she's been supporting me in doing my dream. And as a team, what often happens, and one of the things that's beautiful in dream work is that your sort of limiting thinking or programming will present itself. And so one of the things that's been really powerful is that Janice has, through her work in looking at my dreams, helping me to identify some of the limiting thinking that, and those of you who know me know I'm a life coach and this is part of my job to be able to identify limiting thinking, but the dreams will help kind of unearth a lot of the limiting thinking that might just be so deep that we're not able to consciously find it. And then then Melissa will use her spiritual magic to help clear that programming. And so, and then I'll use my tools to kind of help anchor that. And so that's been a really powerful way that I have been working with them. But I have also been just kind of a fan of seeing what they're putting out in the world. And this is a very new topic for me, the idea of karma and dharma. And it's actually been a topic that I've been seeing more and more through the spiritual circles that I've been around, in terms of us kind of as a part of a collective, moving into a new way of being in the world. And so what I wanted to do is really focus on, this topic. And first of all, maybe just start at the very beginning in terms of kind of what is karma and what is dharma and why should we even care?
Do you want me to talk about karma, or we just
Let's start with
we'll just
karma. And then, oh, are you asking me or asking Melissa?
yeah, you and Melissa is I guess we'll just kind of talk about it together.
And also just, I will interrupt too, just feel free to put your questions in the chat. We're going to try and leave some time at the end, but also just feel free to introduce yourself and yeah, use the chat. Okay, that said.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, is like we can definitely just have a conversation about it, because when it does come to those terms, there's a lot of like everybody has their own definition, and that's totally fine. What The way that I sort of define it and think about it is the way that I see it in dreams. And and also the way that I experience it in real life, in waking life. And that's just the learning learning and going through life and attempting to achieve your life mission, whatever it is, whatever you came onto this earth to do, but doing so, experiencing highs and lows, and experiencing maybe events that feel less positive, but also events that can feel very positive. This is all karma. But either way, as we experience these events, feelings, interactions with other people, we grow. We grow in that way. But growing by the karmic path can be very slow. The way that shows up in dreams is you're late for something, you're running out of time, you need to run to catch a train or something. And that kind of gives you an idea that you are living karmically. And that can feel very uncomfortable sometimes. And what I've definitely seen, and this has been fairly recent, but people's dreams have shifted. They have shifted from just kind of normal, like, hey, it's all right, everybody, let's be karmic and we'll get through this together. And then so that it's shifted from that to something that has really been pushing certain people to get on the dharmic path and to really get going. The time is now. Do it, do it, do it, do it. And I did not see that kind of pushing of in certain people's dreams until just recently. So I know that the energy of karma is it's becoming less important, and we're being encouraged to just let all of that go, and we're basically being told that we do not need to live in this karmic way anymore.
Melissa, do you think that that is tied into more of this ascension that you were talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the ability just to kind of let the karma go, and those of us who can clear karma for people, that's why why it's coming in now as part of the ascension.
I think of it, and tell me if this feels accurate, because I think of like when we're here, when we decide to incarnate onto the earth plane, sort of like we bring certain experiences, and then those experiences are sort of like our curriculum, as Ram Dass would say, and we go through difficulties or struggles, or meet people, and those experiences help us to learn and grow. Or we don't get the lesson, and then we just keep bringing in similar types of circumstances that we navigate and hopefully learn from, but a lot of that tends to be from struggle. Would that be an accurate depiction of the karmic path?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
So,
exactly.
so then like as the earth ascends and the energy shifts there, and as humans are kind of needing to do that as well, how does Dharma play a role? Like what is Dharma and what is that, how does that work? Let's ask, maybe we'll start with you, Janise, to talk about that.
Oh, I was looking at Melissa, but obviously she
Yeah.
can't tell I'm looking at her. Yeah, so I'm sorry. You're asking how does Dharma play the role
Yeah, well, like what
in
is Dharma and how does that have to do with everything?
right. So the way that I look at Dharma, and again, there's actual definitions of this, and I'm not even saying that I'm like even trying to attempt to meet whatever that definition is. But it's more of this living in the flow state. You're you're learning and you're achieving and you're on your mission, but you are not experiencing, you don't need to experience those circumstances that you were talking about, Melissa. You don't need to experience those relationships that feel out of alignment, that are extremely stressful for you, that cause you to crash and burn. You don't need any of that anymore. You still experience waves. So you're still, you're going to feel this, and like you're going to feel differences, but you're not going to get this jagged up and down, like, oh, I'm really great and really just everything's awesome, and then boom, crashed.
Mhm.
And that is one of the things that we found that makes it difficult for people to leave karma behind, because we're so used to the highs and lows, and we are used to using that as a tool to push us to go do something different, to push us to leave a bad relationship or leave a job that doesn't work for us anymore. But when we're in Dharma, we don't have that. That's
Mhm.
not that's not a tool that we need anymore.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, so when we're in Dharma, we know that everything that's happening to us or that happens is for our highest and greatest good. Like if you got fired from your job tomorrow, you there wouldn't be a reaction. You would know, you would just be like, "Oh, it's because something better is happening."
Mhm.
And you're able to see everyone with complete love and understanding. People no longer trigger you, events no longer trigger you. And then it doesn't mean, and so for some people, this is a little bit kind of like, I think what Janise was saying too about, people can get like a kind of addicted to to karma because of those ups and downs. And like, sometimes if you're in the karmic state, like it feels good to complain, right? And sometimes it feels good to have those up and down emotions where in Dharma, yeah, you still feel, but it's like, to me, I always describe it as blissful. Like I just think it feels amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we get ego identified with some of our like victim, like so like, oh, like I get a certain amount of benefit from being seen in a certain way. And so then I keep recreating that. Or in my experience, as someone who has had to deal with addiction frequency, I remember back when I drank alcohol, it was sort of like, oh, well, I would almost like manifest chaos so that I could use alcohol to numb the chaos, and then it would create this cycle. And so I feel like the more I've been doing my own work in terms of healing and addressing trauma and looking at my triggers, I feel more of my life becoming, I guess, what you would describe, Janice, as that flow state where it's like, I'm not as fearful anymore because I recognize that the things, the circumstances that I'm coming up against are for my greatest good, and there's something there for me. So I don't have to be in fear, and I can. And then my energy state gets elevated so that I start my out external world starts to mirror my internal world, and I'm starting to play in a reality where I'm seeing more of what I want. I'm seeing more, I'm in relationships and it feels more loving, or, things spontaneous things and magical things start to present themselves slowly. And it then creates this virtuous cycle because I want to start really digging into those triggers so that I can clear them, so that I can stay in this elevated state. I don't know if that feels like and so, maybe I'm heading in that direction.
Yeah.
So there was a really good question here on the chat from Janet, who asked, how can you clear karma if karma is your life experiences that you learn from?
Yeah, so so unnecessary karma can be cleared it's usually from past lives, but I believe unnecessary karma from this life can be cleared too. So if it's something you still need to work through and have, then it can't be cleared, right? Janise, is that?
Yeah. And you can think about it as the commitment to having the sharp up and downs and the negative feeling experiences is what is cleared. If it is something that you are meant to achieve, or a gift that you're meant to use, or a relationship that you're meant to raise up somehow, the energy of that is still there. Your desire to reach that outcome is still there, and that doesn't go away.
Okay, so um, I guess maybe what we should do is just talk a little bit about so you've kind of partnered to create a 10-step sort of I guess process that would help someone to go from the karmic path to the dharmic path. Am I understanding that correctly? Am I saying that right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's pretty cool. And I would love for you two to kind of talk us through that. And then as they talk us through that, if questions are coming up, feel free to post those in the chat. And then we're going to leave some time at the end too to just have more of an open Q&A. But I would love to, I remember a few of those, one of them in particular, dropping judgment, which is something,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's the first one. But let's talk about this 10 steps that you've been able to kind of garner from dreams and your own personal experience as healers.
Well, it's interesting because although so we have the 10 steps written up on our website, and yeah, it is very clean and it makes a lot of sense, and it's amazing that we were able to articulate that. But when I read through it from time to time, I see how everything weaves in together. So really, it's not like we take you and say, okay, well, here's the first step, and when we do this step, it's over with, and then we move
Right,
to the next
right.
step. Everything is woven together. So it's really interesting. But I did want to say something about the judgments,
Hmm.
because what we found out in just experimenting on ourselves, um, putting ourselves on the dharmic path and then seeing what happens, is that despite the vast amount of healing work that both Melissa and I have done, stuff still comes up. And it's stuff that like it's a different layer of something that we thought we already worked through. And also, we found that we became acutely aware of what was coming out of our mouth, and that's the judgments.
Mhm.
So I would catch myself saying things like, well, here's a good example. I was talking to you, Amy, and
Uh-oh.
there was a conversation about just, somebody's just a jerk. We had this
Is this
conversation.
me talking about this?
I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
telling because I'm about to out myself too. And so I'm talking you through all this programming, and
Mm.
yeah, we're, yes, yes, that's right. And then the next night I had a dream where my ex showed up, and I was just being so mean, talking about him to somebody else and saying he's just such a jerk, and like, how could he do
Wow.
this kind of stuff? And I just laughed at myself because I was like, wow, I thought you know, here I was talking about how that's definitely programming and that's judgments, and then I had the same thing still. So, you know, we're
Very
here learning
humbling.
too.
I remember that conversation. That was after I was having, I'm right now in my life, I'm having a lot of things that are shown to me through my partner, my husband. And it's really showing me a lot about my masculine energy. And I remember that conversation because a lot of judgment, a lot of programming that then Melissa helped me to clear, which then presented a whole new layer of, and I think that's it. Sometimes it's a Russian doll, right? But it's funny. I find myself sometimes judging people for judging. Like there's me judging them for judging, right? Like, so yeah, it's an interesting one, but yeah. I wanted to pause for a minute though, because Terry asked a really great question. She said, could grief be a portal onto the Dharma path?
Can grief be a portal onto the dharmic path? Well, Melissa, do you want to take that? Like, I have some thoughts, but
No, I was gonna ask how so. So say your thoughts. And I'll
Terry, do you
maybe
want to share a little bit more? Oh, Terry, did you want to clarify?
Sure. Um, for instance, in the fall, I lost my mother, and my mom and I have been through attachment. Like majority of my life, I've been with my mom. I've lived like 47 years with my mom. Now she's gone, and so with that grieving process, initially, I got stuck in the depths of grief, but as time's progressing, I'm seeing that maybe grief is an opportunity for me to like clear and have an opportunity to, um, I guess I'm going to use quote here, becoming more in a flow state of life. That it's an opportunity, whereas grief was weighing me down, but now I see it more as an opportunity, if that makes any sense.
yeah, I think you answered your own question because anything that we come across can like if you see it as an opportunity, that's a very dharmic way to see life.
Mhm.
So certainly, yeah. So if you get mired down in the grief and you start to get into victimhood and you start to go kind of the other way, well, then that's the opposite of dharma. And so I guess it could go both ways.
Yeah, great example, Terry. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to let you two kind of kick off the 10 steps, and I'm going to turn my video off for a minute. I got to let my dog out. But can you kind of share the first step?
Yeah. So what we found is the biggest thing in the beginning is actually having the commitment to be on the dharmic path. It requires a vast amount of commitment. And we started to see this with our own clients in their dreams. We started to see it in our dreams first, and then we started to see it in our clients' dreams. The number 3 riddled everywhere, the number 3 and the number 6, which the number 3 is all about just fully committing mind, body, spirit. And the number 6 is a very feminine number and it's related to the dharmic path. So we put those two together and we said, wow, like being committed is the biggest thing, because if you aren't committed to seeing every aspect of you, every angle of you, to being open to healing, even if you thought that you were over whatever it is, to being open to, let's say, I'm going to say being critical of yourself, but I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that as being very open. Melissa and I just had a conversation yesterday about a situation I'm dealing with, and I just asked her straight up, like, "Oh, do you see anything that, any programming around this that I need to work on?" And so that's just being very committed to the mission.
Anything
Um,
to add, Melissa, about that?
Um, yeah, I agree. The commitment is so important. And what my angels tell me all the time recently, and if you've heard me talk lately, I'm sure you've heard me say this, is that you need to commit, yes, but you need to be an active participant in it. So like I can clear programming, but you have to realize that you might have a habit that was caused by that programming, and you have to actively participate in letting it go. So you have to be an active participant in even when you're on the dharmic path. You know, because you can get kicked off by you. I don't mean like someone's going to come and kick you off, but so you have to actively try to stay in that lane.
It kind of reminds me
Yeah.
of just being humble, like, just being like, okay, well, it's almost like seems like there might be a self-compassion component to it. It's like, we're not here to be perfect. We're here to just learn. And so it's almost like this commitment to also just learning about yourself and understanding that it's an unfolding.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the no judgment part, like we have to also not judge ourselves, like
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
right. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, if we're judging other people, we know that we're turning that back on ourselves 10 times. So
Yeah.
we're so much harder on ourselves. And the like in being able to see yourself fully from all those angles, there has to be even more healing. So the way that you were talking about how Melissa and I find programming, and then it gets cleared. You're going to, like, in this, throughout the 10 steps, this happens the whole way,
Mhm.
because programming is so pervasive. And when we can get that cleared, that frees up that whatever, like whatever we were holding another person to, it frees that up. So if we had a rule book for life, oh well, all all teachers need to sing my praises. That's to say, or else I don't feel like I'm important. Well, if we can let that programming go, then we no longer require that the leaders around us toot our horn, because we can toot our own horn, and we don't need anybody else to be telling us how great we are. It's just an example that came off the top of my head. But so there's a huge component of different types of peeling away of the layers that are holding us back. There's so a Because this is moving from karma to dharma, there's a lot of karma that we deal with in the beginning of the program. There's going to be several weeks of just dealing with this karma, and it's just going to be really interesting how that manifests for everybody in the program, because everybody has different things that they're working through. But this, like, unraveling it and being able to rewrite that karma, to rewrite our story, is a huge part of moving on to the dharmic path. And when I say rewriting, I'm talking about deciding differently. So I have, let's say we have the programming, well, it gets cleared. And like Melissa said, then we need to be this active participant that decides differently from here on out. We will still have the memory of, and maybe the habit of, that karma or that reaction or that trigger, but we need to rewrite that in a different, or in a way that is flow and loving and compassionate for us.
And just to clarify, when you say the program, what you're referring to is an upcoming program that you're offering through your business that is going to put this into practice for individuals who are interested in getting more support from that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah, sorry about
We'll
that. The
talk about
10
that.
step
Yeah, we'll
ascension.
talk about that at the end too.
Yeah.
And so for folks who are interested in learning more about that. But I was gonna say too that, I mean, it makes sense that commitment would be the very first thing, because there are some people in our lives who are just not interested in, evolution, it's like, and that's fine. And maybe that's because they're really here to learn through the karmic path, and that's okay, right? And some of us, though, are like, we want to get on Dharma, and we know that because we're ready to commit. We're interested in learning. We want to evolve, and that's really interesting for us.
Well, and that's the way I was looking at it at first
Mhm.
until we did the experiments and I
Okay.
saw my dreams.
Yeah.
And what we found out is that like many people don't really know what it takes, and they think that it sounds really great and fluffy and rainbows and everything, but because of the amount of commitment and because of the amount of work that you do have to do to really get there to be able to maintain it. I was having dreams where I was looking for my baggage at the
Uh-huh.
airport, and we know that baggage is about our karma, things that we still carry with us. And I was having this fear that came up when suddenly I didn't have that anymore. I didn't know what to do.
Hmm.
So that like I didn't anticipate that that was going to be a thing, but it was.
You wanted your bags back.
I did.
I had that exact same dream after I heard you say that.
Yeah, it's infectious.
All right, well, let's keep moving. So we've talked about judgment. Is that the second step?
Might
Or
be
what? Okay, well,
fourth.
tell,
As
so
I
what,
said,
I
it's
mean,
kind
I
of
guess,
both.
yeah. So like what happens though after commitment? You've committed.
Well, there's a big piece of our karma, and that's holding us back from Dharma, that is related to our body. So
Mm.
there's a massive part that is led by Katie, who's actually on this call, but I'm sure she's not anticipating for to say anything. But so she is an amazing remote healer, and she has created a program that people listen to her recordings and receive healing. So we are expanding that in or this is a way, let's say. So not even talking about the program.
Mm.
A way to release some of your karma is to heal your body. So we're using that to also help people get on and stay on the dharmic path.
So it's like there's sounds like then, some of the karma is stored in our body as like whatever, like some kind of illness or uh that energy that creates the whatever the condition is. And then releasing that physical, manifestation of the illness or the difficulty in the body helps to clear karma too. Is that,
Absolutely.
oh, that's really interesting. And I will vouch for Katie. I have worked with her and her mechanisms and healing abilities are really, really profound. She says she's listening in the car, so she can't hop on. But okay, so what else? What else? Melissa, what say you?
Um, so yeah, I don't know that like Janise has been saying, it's like, you do this and then that.
Yeah.
It's so like interwoven. And it really comes down to healing, right? And we've kind of have these, steps, but again, not actually steps, to make it nice and compact. So
Right.
you're not having to do healing over like 40 years. We just kind of get in there and do what needs to be done.
Well,
Hmm.
there's this huge part of balancing the divine feminine and masculine too, that
Yeah.
Melissa is really good at. Another one of Melissa's amazing gifts is that she can be very frank. And this is
Hmm.
what this it's what I needed for sure. And but it is also very helpful for those of us who we don't want to play any more games. We want to hear it like it is, and we're ready.
Right. Well, you do talk about it being a 10 step. And I know I totally understand what you're saying about it. Like it's not really mutually exclusive. Like there are like, it's all kind of interacting and interwoven. But I also am really curious to hear what the 10 steps are. Can you say, like, can you, like, I
Yeah,
know we
yeah.
talked about commitment, judgment, healing the body. Those are three.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like Jenny's just said, balancing the
Oh,
masculine,
yeah.
feminine.
I'm
Uh,
putting them in the chat. I'm gonna take notes in the chat. Healing the body, balancing the masculine and feminine.
There's a step that we didn't talk about yet, and that's because it can be a little sticky to talk about and it can make some people uncomfortable, but it's about clearing the mark and restoring Christ consciousness. The restoring Christ consciousness sounds great, but clearing the mark sounds a little scary. Um,
I can speak to that too if you need me to.
okay, sure. I'd love to.
Do you want me to speak to it now? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay. So I will say for those of, I know it does sound scary, the mark, right? But so one thing that has is sort of something about me is that I came into this world with a lot of trauma. Like I was born into a family where both of my parents were kind of in the height of their addiction, and there was violence, and there was abandonment, and there was I also had three disgruntled teenage sisters and a high special needs brother, and so it was pretty much a shit show, a chaotic shit show, and I didn't get a lot of what I needed, to say the least. And so there was a lot of that kind of trauma, but I think also just having been born into such a vulnerable state, what I learned, and I'll say, let me back up and say that a big part of my life I've been really someone who has been committed to personal development. That's definitely been something that has been important to me. But I've been struggling with just dipping in and out of depressive episodes. And as I had alluded to earlier, there has been addiction that I've had to clear. Just that's been a whole legacy in my family. And just I didn't even realize that I was kind of walking around with undiagnosed post-traumatic stress. And so I would just have these episodes sometimes of just rage or, and I had carried a lot of shame for that. And ultimately, what we found out through the dream work is that, I mean, I don't know, I was working with you, Janise, which there were some things that were coming through in my dreams where I was like, oh, I've been doing all these great healings and things are progressing and I'm evolving in certain ways. But then these dreams I'd have these really dark dreams where someone was chasing me, or like really just scary, dark dreams that would, like, as I was about to approach some higher level of consciousness, these dreams would come in and I'd be like, I don't know what's going on. And I think that was probably around the time, Janise, when you and maybe Melissa were seeing this in people's dreams. And what we realized was that I think it could have happened probably in the astral or spiritual realm before I came into the world, that I was just messed with. I was in a vulnerable state and I was messed with. And basically, there was something that I was forced to do under duress, and that kind of put me in a situation where I was just constantly having to um, experience those consequences in my waking life that manifested as, some of these things I mentioned, depression, addictions, just things like that. And it was just, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I have these two here, is because we were able to clear that. And from that time, I haven't had that happen again. That has been cleared, and it's really helped to unlock new levels of like me being able to step in and out of maybe like dipping my foot into Dharma. So, I guess that's what I'll say, just speaking from personal experience. It's been really powerful, but it sounds like I know I have a few colleagues who have also experienced similar things. It's not as rare as we think. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah, that was a beautiful summary of it. The dark likes to remind us that we believe that they own us, And that's why as soon as we would reach something that like we're close to getting that, then we would just be smacked down, and they would tell us, remember this, remember what you said you would do, or you know, remember what you promised. So that's just a huge part of staying on the dharmic path, is not being pursued or seen by that energy anymore.
Yeah, I think it's like it's something we don't love to focus on, but I think, and this kind of reminds me of what you said, Melissa, about the ascension, is that, you know, as we turn towards more light, inevitably we're going to see more darkness. It's like the darkness can't hide anymore. It's like there's not as many shadows to hide under. And I think, you know, even though it's kind of a bummer, like I think just this is just me speaking from my personal opinion, is that we also have to step into our courage to be willing to commit to seeing some of that darkness and how that manifests and how that has been keeping us in lower states of consciousness. And so once we're able to see that, then we can release that. And I think maybe that's what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So another step is, and I don't know if you wrote this down yet, but we talked about unraveling and rewriting the karma. And then we talked about the programming clearing, the unconscious programming.
Rewriting karma the same as clearing programming?
No, it's not.
What is rewriting karma?
It's like short and simple explanation is that it's more of changing your mind and deciding differently. This can be accomplished in many different ways. It like you can exercise this. So it's one of those active participation things where you need to actively decide that you're going to rewrite how you're going to be seen. But also Melissa does with her angels rewrite some karma too.
Oh yeah, Melissa, you've helped me on that a bunch of times as well. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'll just quickly, if it's okay, speak to
Yeah.
that. So I have had dreams where I'm not remembering. Oh, I'm remembering something that came up in a dream where I think it was, you know, a lot of times I think what's interesting is that when we start to step on into more flow and we start to express more from feminine side, we start to take different, make different choices. And, you know, we are willing to be seen in new ways or express ourselves more authentically. But then what happens often is that that can trigger us into, you know, like old patterns or, you know, different programming. And so what was coming up for me was that I was creating a group, and that group, you know, was bringing up old experiences of having been, you know, just, having been criticized by, you know, certain people in a certain experience, and that was a past thing that had happened. And so I remember that came up in some dream work. And then Melissa, you had helped kind of hold that and then partner with me to come up with a new way of thinking about that experience, kind of releasing it, but on then bringing in something more uplifting that I could then anchor into as I was moving forward. I don't know if that's accurate, but that was my, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it was a dream that we did for you or just like a past high school experience. I kind
Well,
of
it was the dream that revealed that I was the past high school experience was what was coming up that was creating the restriction.
Yeah, so then me and the angels went in and kind of rewrote that past experience so it didn't have the same effect on you. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a few folks who are posting some things in the chat. Should I read them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this might be my friend Sandra here. I had a dream that I took over my mother's baggage. Within a month, I gained so much weight. I know Wait, I know, look like my mom. I know I look like my mom, or so. I'm not sure. There might be a typo in there. Is it possible to take over a loved one's karma? If so, how can I clear this? Interesting.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah,
want to?
it's I'll just say something, really quick and then you can say more. But yeah, it's absolutely possible. And I mean, my first thought, of course, is to kind of go back into that dream. And by that, I mean, reimagine it and give the bags back to your mom. But this is more your wheelhouse, I think, Jenny. So if you want to talk more on it.
I was just going to say that just from personal experience and in working through that myself, my dreams were showing that I was trying to take on my daughter's stuff and my son's stuff to lighten their load. And that's against their own path.
Mhm.
So I was hurting them in doing that. And after I worked through that, it was revealed to me that it was not just my kids that I was doing this. I was enabling other people by being too willing to do the work for them. So it's just interesting how that manifests. And so for the person who wrote the comment, that manifests as, no, my mom can't do this. She's incapable of doing this. So I'm going to do it for her.
Mhm.
And you can see very clearly that that's wrong. That's against that other person's path. It's against your path. You're not meant to be taking that stuff on.
Well, and what comes up for me, because, at many of us on this call are people who consider themselves healers or service, individual, they work with people to help them in some way, right? We're in helping professions, many of us. Is that I had to really dig into kind of, why am I someone who wants to help? And it's beautiful that I do, and I think I do good work in the world. But I think part of that too was that I had to be aware that some of it had to do with me just having a lot of trauma, and I just wanted to create a safe world, and it's like, but in that kind of pattern, I had to see that I was taking on things that weren't mine, and that we're here, many of us are here because we have a specific path to learn, and it's not for me to save everyone on the earth and take all their pain so that it can be a different environment for me. And so I think it does manifest for many of us who consider ourselves healers and service workers in different ways, whether it's our family, whether it's our clients, whether it's just the world, the earth, the animals. And we have to kind of like suss out, what if this is truly in service to the collective, and what if this is just us taking on too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Lisa writes, my dream last night ended with small plastic bags as a gift given to about 5 of us, like a goodie bag you would get as a kid after a party. There was a comb inside. Lisa, are you just like sharing that because there's baggage in there and you're wanting to get some clarity on whether that's good baggage or bad baggage?
Yeah, it's just interesting because I was a really strange dream last night. I had two really weird ones, and that's how it ended. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't know if it fits into this conversation.
Well, I think absolutely the fact that, I think, what did you say? There were 5 bags.
Yeah.
That's the number
Yeah.
that comes up when you're trying to work through karma, when you're being encouraged to work through your karma so that you can start to work on Dharma. But also just the fact that it was related to like a party, gifts. This is all about your earth mission. This is what you incarnated for. It's a birth dream, and it's saying like you have gifts. The fact that there was a comb in one of them and that you described them as plastic, it's still like, hey, I have these gifts, I have this goodie bag, right? But then there's immediately kind of a negative connotation to it, like it's plastic, which is all about artificialities, things that don't really matter, but maybe you're giving them more credence than they deserve. And then the comb is really about changing your thought patterns. It's about looking at how you
Mm.
can change your hair, right? And your hair represents your thoughts because it's directly related to your head.
Oh, I love that. There you go,
Oh,
Lisa.
well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that with the comb. That's interesting. All right. So I've got commitment, healing the body, balancing the masculine and feminine, rewriting karma, clearing programming, releasing any marks from the dark side. And I love, also the Christ consciousness piece. Do you want to say a little bit more about Christ consciousness? One of you, whoever's inspired.
Yeah, so Christ consciousness, in my mind, is the part of us that is whatever word works for you. Christ, God, like the total, it's like what we were before we had our fall from grace. As part of the clearing we were talking about, my team activates that part of us, which is really what we are at our core. We are Christ consciousness. If it's appropriate, well, it's okay. So they're telling me it's always appropriate for it to be activated, but it might not be activated at that time, that I do it because more healing may need to come in. But anyway, so Christ consciousness is, yeah, to me, that part of us that is that purity. One thing that we noticed on this, when we were kind of experimenting, I think it came up in one of my dreams, and Janise and I kind of just figured it out talking through it, is that there is this reawakening that also happens while we're getting onto the dharmic path, back to that purity that we truly are.
Ah, yeah, well, I mean, as you were speaking, I just got really overwhelmed with emotion that, it's really just, it's beautiful work that you two are doing. And thank you for that. Now I'm going to start crying.
Yeah, I'm just so like humbled that I'm here to do it, like I can't, yeah, I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
think I'll talk over you so you don't cry.
Yes, I'm
The
crying anyway.
the
It's
purity
good.
part of it was such a surprise because it's tied in with intimacy. So we were
Mm,
seeing a lot of people's dreams where they were rejecting being intimate or rejecting somebody wanting to give them a hug or something. And so the discovery was really big in that there's this healing of actual sexual intimacy that
mm,
needs to happen because of all of the collective programming that sex is not, like, sex is dirty.
And
mhm.
Sex
and
is,
that we're dirty because of it. Like we're not pure. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
yeah, we were created, like, people had to have sex. There's rare circumstances where there's, like in vitro and that, but people, basically, we were born out of a reproductive system, out of two of them, and that had to happen. So we were born dirty. We were born
Yeah.
already impure. And I know that that's a religious, maybe like a Christian belief system, that we're
Mm,
born sinners. So
mm,
the idea is taking that idea away from us. No, we were born to be pure, and
mhm.
we have that within us, and we just need to take away everything that's telling us otherwise.
Right. It's such a beautiful, I mean, if you think about it, like uh, we're sitting here as these beautiful manifestations of the human's capacity for creativity and the balance of masculine and feminine in physicality. And I think it's just been so polluted. I know for me, having been someone who has had abuse in my, in my history, and then also just the violation that I experienced in, the astral plane, and then on top of that, you layer all this, all this stuff that we're getting bombarded with in our culture and the messages around kind of sex. It's like it's really difficult for us sometimes to untangle that. So that would make a lot of sense that that would be a part of this process, is really taking that back and um, reimagining that as something beautiful and creative.
Something that I forgot that I want to tell Dr. Lisa, the one that had the dream, is so one of her gifts is to help people change their thought patterns.
Oh, say more. How do you come to that?
Because of the comb being in one of the goodie bags or
Oh,
associated with
yes, Lisa. Well, and
I love that.
Lisa, you're a coach, right?
Yeah,
There you
that's what I'm
go.
trying to do. And that's
Yeah.
so funny because you just read my mind, Janise. I was looking down because I took some notes as you spoke, and I'm like, maybe this will help me find out what my gifts are. And then
Of
you just
course.
yeah,
said that. So thank you.
yeah, welcome.
Well, and that's something that obviously, as this unfolds, right? You maybe speak to that a little bit. This seems like a good segue to talk a little bit about spiritual gifts, what they are, how do we learn about them, and what does your program and the work that you're doing have to do with kind of connecting with that?
Well, when you begin to really do this work of peeling back multiple layers, your gifts that you were meant to use here on the earth plane for your earth mission, they they can't help but reveal themselves. They're dying for you to pay attention to them. And so they show up in your dreams, they show up just, you know, in channeling on your mission. And there is a part towards the end of or like there is a part as you begin to peel off these layers where we bring in another healer that has this unique gift of being able to retrieve and activate your gifts that haven't been activated yet. So that it's so satisfying to finally hear somebody articulate what you're here to do, because so many of us kind of we're in this state of, well, maybe I'm supposed to do that, maybe I'm supposed to do that, and there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of I don't uh, like I need someone to tell me, which we don't need someone to tell us, but it is really helpful to have experienced people tell you.
Yeah. Anything to add, Melissa?
No, I was just gonna say a bit of a personal thing. After I worked with the healer, Janise mentioned that activates gifts. That's when my program clearing in my it was two separate times, but then my ability to move people to Dharma came up. And it was like, as soon as I had the program clearing gift, I said to Janise, I was like, this is my favorite gift. It was just so amazing that it came in. And granted, I'd done a ton of healing to get to that point, but it was that activation with the healer that activated it. So it's
Are we allowed to say her name?
well,
Are
you
we talking
didn't?
about Kimbra? Are we talking about
Yeah.
Kimbra? My
So
friend Kimbra. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so is that a part of the 10 step then is gift retrieval or gift retrieval
Yes.
activation?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got commitment, healing the body, balancing the masculine and feminine, rewriting karma, clearing programming, releasing any marks from the dark side and activating Christ consciousness, gift retrieval and activation. Anything else? Did we miss anything?
Like towards the end, there's kind of the thing that we kind of alluded to and talked about habits. That's the becoming conscious step
Mm.
where we really dig deep and there's a lot of one-on-one work. There might be homework in this case. Like Melissa and I both have had experiences recently with customer service. And because of those experiences, and because we didn't completely lose our crap, and we stayed very conscious in those conversations that lasted, more than an hour. And so having some sort of homework to help you stay focused on really looking deeply at your stuff is
Mm-hmm.
this step.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and if you, do have a call with customer service and you do lose your crap, that's fine, but then it's just like, okay, what do we need to do to, you know, kind of get back into alignment. So
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I have a 14-year-old teacher in my house, and she is really good at giving me these opportunities to practice not losing
right.
my shit. And I'm not always very successful at it, but what I have found is that when I do, you know, just recently, and this might be a blog post actually, is that recently I had a loss of shit moment. And I notice, you know, as someone who's aware and curious about myself, is that when you lose your crap, often that will spark a shame response that then keeps your energy really low, and then you start to engage in other negativity. Like I noticed as I was in shame over having lost my crap, I don't know why crap is so much better of a word than shit, but you know, I trying to avoid saying shit. Then I notice I'm like more judgmental, or I'm more easily triggered, or like all these other. So I think it's so interesting how just being a student of this stuff, you know, just seeing myself as a watcher, oh, now I'm in shame, and it's just got me anchored into this, you know, lower frequency that then creates opportunities for me to engage in these other negative patterns. And so having some kind of tool and support around, you know, using that episode as an opportunity to learn and create more tools can be really helpful on especially because we're talking about being aware. And of course, sometimes then that perfectionist voice can get in, like, oh, look at you did this thing, and you made this mistake, and you acted like such an asshole or whatever. And I think, you know, that just becomes another opportunity to learn and use these tools, I feel like.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
oh, another step then is just what we call ascension readiness. And that's the part where you've peeled off enough and you're ready for Melissa to place you on the dharmic path and to start to experience that. And of course, we definitely expect you're going to be bumped off pretty quickly because something will happen. And then it's the oh, okay, what happened? That's just okay, I get it. All right, I'm gonna change that thought pattern around myself. And it's looking at yourself very compassionately, non-judgmentally, but very frankly, you know, like, oh, here's what I did. Okay. And then what and then the hope and what we believe other people are going to be able to do then by observing themselves that closely is they will be able to put themselves back on the dharmic path. And so
Mhm.
then that puts us to the 10th step, which is an extra 10 months of support from us that helps through the next 10 months of like, it's not like, okay, well, you're on your own now. You learned how to do it. So just go do it. It's like, no, we're here. We're a community.
Yeah, yeah. And we're, yeah, what one of the things I was going to say is now I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. I was going to comment on that, but it flew
Mm.
away. So I remember what it was. I was thinking, you know, and I wanted to get both of your takes on this, and then we'll open it up and just like, let's talk about your program. Let's like, you know, get a link in there and take questions and things like that. Um, but one of the things that I'm experiencing is that, you know, this talk of being in flow and operating from the feminine, you know, it's something that more and more is becoming more and more accessible to me. And in fact, I think ironically, I've lived a lot of my life in sort of more of a masculine kind of and let a more even like kind of a toxic masculine kind of drive and make it happen and push and achieve and all of that. And it's ironic because I really do think that part of my path here is to be an expression of the feminine. And so, but one of the things that I've noticed as I'm kind of stepping more into that is that, yeah, you know, being in flow isn't always what we think. And then sometimes it really does require us, and I'm getting chills as I say that, to really be in trust, right? Like to really be in like, you know, it's like it's easy to kind of it can bring up fear because oh, oh, we don't have money for the next 2 weeks, or, like, but that's okay because we're going in flow. So it's like, I think that's maybe back to that commitment piece, is really just committing to the process and the unfolding. But I was just kind of wondering what you would say about that, because I have found that I just get more opportunities to just trust that I will be caught. Like there's that expression, if you take a leap of faith, trust that you'll be caught. And I think there's a lot of memes about that and stuff. But I think when you're really living it, it's not for the faint of heart. It really does require, I think, this faith that yes. And it's funny because for me, the money just keeps appearing. Like I get another client, or something just happens. But I just wanted you to talk about, maybe speak to that. What are your thoughts on that? What I'm experiencing there?
Yeah, when I um quit my job, and again, this was like probably 8 years ago, I didn't have anything lined up. So I had to do a lot of work through my fears of it in my mind, like if I quit that real job,
Mhm.
um I was going to be homeless. So I had to really, really work through it. So yeah, you definitely, it's work to get to that point. To where you just release that fear. And I did certain things that worked for me to release it. And I just had a little, I would tell myself like an affirmation or whatever that I've always been taken care of. I've, from the universe or whatever, I've always had more than I need, really. And I knew, I just got to the point where I knew that would keep happening. And I did have to balance my masculine energy, because my masculine energy imbalance showed up, around my gifts and my business. So I did have to balance my masculine energy and get to a point where, the business was working for me and all that. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off track there, but I'm just saying that experience to totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's like the business stuff, the money stuff. It seems to be one of those triggers, right? To show us ourselves and where
Yeah,
that fear can come up.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And if you're looking for that in your dreams,
Hmm.
it shows up as being afraid to jump off of a ledge, or go from a high place to a low place. It's the fear of, if I let go of all of this masculine energy and all of my logic, everything that tells me logically, and I jump down into my heart,
Hmm.
what will I do? Like, like, I can't trust my heart. My heart doesn't know what I
Right.
want. And we know that that's not true. We know that our heart knows what we want, but to actually take that leap is so scary.
Hmm.
And just another one to leave you with: in dreams, you will see, if you're meant to be getting on the dharmic path, if that's something that you want, it's in your life path, you'll see lots of nuts,
What?
because yeah, you've seen those in your dreams,
Have
because
I? I don't remember if I have, but anyway.
oh yeah, you have. Because people will think that you're nuts because you
Oh,
defy all of the logic and you do what's in your heart, and people see that as, that's crazy, that's nuts.
oh, that's funny. I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, that makes tons of sense. Tons of sense. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's Terry's posted something here and I want to read that. Maybe a few comments. And then what we'll do is definitely want to get the information out. I just feel like this is such important work, and it's interesting because I'm an instructor for Wayfinder Life Coach training, and that's a kind of school of life coaching where it really is, the focus is a lot on spirituality. And so it's people who are in that program tend to resonate with spirituality and these topics. And we talk about, the idea of having a social self and an essential self. And this essential self really kind of reminds me of some of the higher aspects that we talk about, like our higher self and living in being more of a reflection of that versus being driven by what I talked about, like that ego and that masculine energy. And really the idea and the coaching is to have those two components really partner with each other and work together in a way that affirms really why we came here. And I feel like what you two have created here is this very, it's like you've taken that concept and you have just really blown that up and really help to just clarify, what does that take and what does that look like? And I think it really, I think expands upon a lot of the work that many of us in Wayfinder Life Coach training really value. So I just wanted to say that. And then I'm going to read a few things from the chat and then let's talk about maybe what would be good is if we could post the link to your programs and then let you kind of talk about that. But here's Terry. She says, I had a dream where my mother was driving the two of us around. She had to surrender her license due to health conditions. Mom appeared youthful, joyful, and free. We had a brief conversation around forgiveness where she shared a message, love is forgiveness. Oh, beautiful, Terry. Lisa says, that is beautiful. Thank you. And then we have Donna here. I recently dreamed that I was with a group jumping off a cliff and the person who led us jumped and died. I haven't ever dreamt and seen someone die. Okay, one of you two has to speak to that one, please.
Well, yeah, that's essentially the fear, right? If you jump off and death is associated with that, it's really about the death of being in your head, right? It's the death of relying on your ego or just this extreme masculine energy where no, there's no way I can listen to my heart. So symbolically, that's really great that it's like, hey, if you jump down here, that part of you is going to die and you can be in the heart. But obviously we put our own negative spin on it and we see it in the dream as death. Well, we
Uh-oh.
see it that way
Is
because
it?
what's that
Oh, I'm
did I lose?
sorry. I think I'm getting some internet issues. You were probably fine, and
Oh.
I thought you froze.
Okay. Well, we see that in dreams as something negative because we have our own lens of what that would look like if we do take that leap of faith. We're like typically we're not going to see really awesome, great things in our dreams, or there might be something really awesome and great, but then it's going to be followed up by the next thing we need to work on. So just know that your dreams almost always are pushing you to work on things.
Yeah. I laugh because my dreams are constantly showing me more crap that I have to work on. And I have colleagues who I get to see their dreams, Katie being one of them, Kimbra being another one, where it's like they're just constantly just getting shown all this like, you know, fancy like their gifts and and it's like I'm like I have dream envy.
I know.
All right.
Because
Well,
I did just have a dream where a healer that Melissa and I and Kimber have been working with jumped off and she smacked on the sidewalk and I was like, I'm not doing that. There's no way
oh
I'm
boy.
doing that.
Oh, our dreams are just so honest, it's like you gotta love it. Well, so it looks like, oh, and Terry says she had some chestnuts around her vehicle. So I believe as above, so below. So if you're seeing those things in your waking life, then that's just my opinion. It's also totally valid. And I often will interpret my things that like get my attention in waking life. I will interpret those like I would a dream. So that's just me. But okay, so Melissa posted the link to the Dharma Vida, which is, by the way, the cutest name for this business. But why don't you two kind of talk about what you have to offer and some of the things that you're working on?
Go ahead, Janise.
Oh, okay. Well, so I mean, we talked about the 10-step program this whole time, but what I want to say is something that I'm super excited with working with you on, Amy, and that's an advanced dream interpretation course. So you're going to be teaching a really important module, and people at the end of that are going to be ready and already working with clients. They're going to be ready to take this to their own practice, because like dreams are so extremely valuable. Now, the thing is that we can get some easy ones, but most dreams are layered and complicated. So this dream course has a lot of different tools to get us through all of those different types of dreams. And I'm just super, super excited. This is something that is part of my life path. It's part of my mission here. It's been showing in my dreams for years that I was meant to be teaching dream interpretation. And so now I'm ready to do it. So I'm excited to work with you, Amy, on that.
Yeah, and I wanted to just I wanted to also say that I believe, and please edit me or fact check me if this is incorrect, but that this is an opportunity for folks who have no dream interpretation experience or limited dream interpretation experience, correct?
Yeah, and I call it advanced because it gets you to an advanced place. It is 6 months. So, but there's just a lot of practice. And what what got me to that place is obviously my extreme excitement around dreams, and but I interpreted thousands of dreams, and got in front of people and then just started doing them in groups. And so I've just had so much practice, and I know that that's the thing that makes the difference, just repetition, hearing it, and then being pushed to just try it
Yeah.
without having taking a dream home and spending hours on trying to be in your head and figure it out.
Well, the other thing too, I think that's really interesting and worth mentioning is as we kind of talk about ascension, one of the things that I just am getting this really strong sense of is that dream work is going to become more important. Like I know right now, like not a lot, I mean, we're kind of unique, as people who work with dreams, but I feel like as we're moving through this process of whatever this is, right, where we're people are really like waking up to their own divinity. I feel like the dream work is a modality that is only going to get more and more sought after, more and more useful, more and more people are going to see the value and the benefit of it. And so it's beautiful that you're creating this opportunity for people to dig in wherever you happen to be with regard to dreams. And I can't think of a better person who could teach this stuff because one of the things that I think you do, and as I said, like I work with you, like you're my dream person. And so, it's like you approach dreams from a lot of different, just like perspectives, not just one kind of way to do it. And I mean, just the fact that you want me to teach a module on kind of my approach, which is very different than a lot of approaches, and kind of add that to the toolbox. So it's like you're bringing people to dream work from a lot of different approaches and creating something that anyone who wants to start can start with and get to an advanced place.
I need to take that and make it into a commercial.
Well, we're recording. I don't know if I said it. I could have been a little bit more articulate about it, but okay. So what else? Like what else? I mean, we also want to hear about the 10-step ascension / karmic path program, or is there anything else about the dream program? Is the information for the advanced dream going to be in this link that Melissa posted?
Yeah, it's under courses. It starts May 19th.
May 19th, and it's under courses. So that's
Well, oh, sorry, it starts the week of May 19th.
okay. What else?
Melissa, do you want to? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll say, so I didn't mention like all my specific abilities or whatever, but I'm an animal communicator and I have an animal communication course coming up this summer, which is just something people like to do for fun. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and hence all the animals that are crawling all over you.
Yeah, I know. I've got them calmed now, but
Well,
yeah.
they were attracted to you because I had my cat in my lap at one point. My dog's right here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny that you say that because I was just listening to someone. I've been getting really interested in learning more about, Jesus and kind of and the Christ consciousness piece and working with his energy in a non kind of affiliated way. And one of the things I was listening to someone talking about his teachings on a YouTube channel, and they were saying that, one of his what was something that was really of value to him that we maybe didn't get translated into a lot of our beliefs and practices, is that he really went against the idea of animal sacrifice and really this importance of valuing every living being, not just whether that's plants, whether that's animals, whether like the consciousness of all things, and how when we talk about oneness in Christ consciousness, we're not just talking about humanity. And so it seems to me that like this practice, if it's something of interest to people, or you're seeing this gift in your dreams come through, which by the way, if you're talking to animals in your dreams, you likely have this gift, is that could be a portal, for those of you who resonate with that, is working with animals and using that gift. Anything to add or edit about that, Melissa?
No, yeah, I agree with all that. And sometimes, I know for me personally, I was meant to do the animal communication as like a, I guess, gateway
Mm.
into other gifts. And that I just thought of that because, kind of how you said the portal.
Mhm.
But, yeah, what you say
Yeah.
totally makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's like some of our gift that we have certain gifts, and that some of the gifts they help us access other gifts. And
Right.
so there's like an unfolding, and that's one of the things that working with these two is going to help clarify as well. Is like, what is the lowest hanging fruit in terms of what you should be focusing on? And it is, I think, to me, like feels like that is part of the dharmic path is um just I think when we're in a lot of heavy masculine, and you two can tell me where I'm wrong, but it feels like we want to have it all spilled out. We want the whole thing. We want the 10 steps. We want it all mapped out, and we want to know exactly how it's going to work. And we want to know when and all of that. And I feel like that's one of the things I'm learning about being in flow, being in more of that feminine energy, is that it will be revealed. Like it will be revealed. Just do the first thing and it will be revealed. And so what thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, absolutely. I used to like joke, while I was in the middle of my healing process. For those of us who want to heal and do what we're here to do, I was like, why don't they just give us a guidebook, right? But
Yeah.
now that I'm more healed, I'm over that. But yeah, so I definitely had that at one point.
Well, that said, I mean, I think it's beautiful that you two took the time to really map out this process. I think there's so much value in that. And I just want to encourage folks who are here to, check out the link. Please go and see what it's all about. Janise and Melissa have, they will answer whatever questions that you have. I'm going to be around in the periphery of this, and so you will likely see me. But I can't say enough about just the benefits that I've been able to achieve through working with these two. They're just, as I said, a powerhouse spiritual team. And it's just really, really important work. Any last comments from either of you?
I mean, I have to say the same about you too. It's been amazing to have you as part of my journey too. And I appreciate you wholeheartedly.
Wow. Anything else, Melissa?
Oh, I was just gonna say, thanks so much for hosting this and yeah, and your involvement in everything that we've been doing lately. So
Well, it's been wonderful to be in both of your orbits. And I will say that for many of you who are here with me on the call, I just love you all so much. And yeah, just check it out. And hopefully you found this I hope you found it fascinating, one, and maybe some of you will consider taking a step into exploring some of these wonderful offerings. That said, everybody take good care, and I'll see you next month for another fun episode of the Dream Discovery series. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Mwah.